So hello, everybody. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day and joining us for this month's webinar. If we haven't had a chance to meet before, I'm going to go ahead and introduce myself. My name is Corey Hesser, and I'm one of the program managers at Kirkwood Corporate Training. Today, we are here with one of our amazingly talented instructors, Lisa Schaefer. There are so many fun facts about Lisa, so I just wanted to share a few so you get to know her a little bit more. Lisa is an edutainer and a knowledge broker. She is a certified mental health first aid trainer who holds a master's degree in education, school, and community counseling, as well as a bachelor's in psychology and marketing from the University of Wisconsin. She once was a radio disc jockey, worked for Disney World. She loves cake, golfing, boats, and traveling. So Lisa is in the business of helping people shine and living authentically in leadership and in life. Avoiding stress and burnout is the topic of today's session, and it's also a shortened version of what Lisa will be presenting during our 2022-2023 FIT series. FIT stands for Flexible and Innovative Training. So if your business is interested in being part of the FIT program, please reach out to your contact. If you have more questions regarding what our FIT program is, or you're interested in bringing Lisa into your business, please reach out to Kirkwood Corporate Training. So without further ado, I say we go ahead and get started on why you are joining us today. Lisa, we are so excited that you are here, and I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to you.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Corey. How many guys woke up today going, whoo, man, I'm stressed to the max? Well, many of us are feeling a little overwhelmed these days. And so I want to give some tips and tricks today on really how do we kind of move through this stress and see it as a positive opportunity? How do we reframe things? And how do we kind of minimize our burnout? And it's really about mindset. You know, how are you doing? Are you feeling like this dog right now and wanting to move away to an island because you're just tired of all the changes? Or are you thinking to yourself, man, you know, change is good. It gets me excited, and you have positive stress. Are you loving all the innovation, all the opportunities for growth? What's your compelling future? You know, one of the biggest things we talk about in overcoming burnout and trying to minimize stress is really focusing on what is it that we're hoping to gain today? What is it that matters today? And what is mattering in our future? What is our key? You know, how many of you have taken time to really reflect on what you're hoping to do in the next 5 years? Do you have a goal for the next year? And do you ask yourself on a daily basis, is what I'm doing helping or hurting me get to my goal? You know, stress has so many things that come into play. We've got stress from outside of the workplace. You know, right now people are saying that there's high rates of frustration. People's civility is going down. People are overwhelmed with some of the current events that are happening. So there's stress outside of the workplace. I work with Mental Health First Aid Organization and of course, National Institute of Mental Health. And they're saying 1 in 3 people are experiencing anxiety and depression because of the pandemic. Again, just that stress on the outside. People are worried about, you know, things that are outside of their control at times, including inflation. And again, sometimes just other situations. In the workplace, people say, you know what stresses me out is we don't have some processes. These processes sometimes aren't working the way we want them to work. We've got too much unfocused time. You know, how many of you have ever spent some time alone and you started catastrophizing on all the things that could go wrong? You know, if we have too much unfocused time, that can cause some stress. Other things, inconsistency. You know, in the workplace, sometimes people will say things like, well, you know, why do they get to do it and we don't get to do it? Or, you know, why does this department get this and we don't? Any type of inconsistency can cause some stress, especially if you're expecting routine. You know, many of us as humans like routine because, again, it helps us stay somewhat in our comfort zone. But you've got things like inadequate communication, people problems, and just tolerating all of the above. You know, on a scale of 1 to 5, what's your mindset? Are you telling yourself, wow, I am totally overwhelmed? Or are you telling yourself, you know what, I'm going to focus on one thing at a time. What do I want to try to complete or do today? You know, oftentimes people ask me, how do you assess for stress? You know, there's a lot of positive stress out there. This is what's called the Holmes-Race stress scale. Some people will say, you know, it's exciting stress. For example, you'll see on here a wedding. You know, a lot of times people will say, wow, you know, I'm so excited. I'm excited about this wedding and getting married, but holy cow, it's causing me more stress because I'm trying to get things all done. These are positive stressors. You see things too, like pregnancy and retirement. These are what we consider the top 43 stressors. And this is an assessment that many people will give, talking about within the last year, how many of these things have you had happen in your life? And then you circle the score. The higher the score, the more opportunity that maybe you want to talk with someone, or again, look at some stress management techniques to be able to minimize some of that frustration. You see on here anything from a death of a spouse to any type of trouble with your boss. There's a variety of things that are impacted. So once you identify what your key stressor is, oftentimes I ask you, can you control it? There are things that are outside of your control. The only thing I can really control is my attitude and my actions. A lot of times I want other people to change, but I can't change them. I can only change how I respond or react to them. So looking at things, what are the things that truly matter and what do you truly have control over, and start to focus on those types of things. One of the biggest stressors is trying to control everything, trying to be perfect at everything. You have ultimately some resiliency skills, because one of the biggest things in managing stress is the ability to be able to reframe it. A lot of times people ask me, Lisa, how do you do what you do? You get in front of people and you speak to 200 or 300 people at a time. Doesn't that get you nervous? And I'm like, yeah, it gets me nervous, but I reframe it. I reframe it as, oh, you know what? I'm excited. I'm excited to be able to present some tips and tricks that hopefully I can help somebody shine a little bit more. We need to look and reframe things. When we're able to reframe things, we can stay resilient to stress. Oftentimes people are like, well, okay, I just have to see it different, but it's hard. How many of you have ever worked for somebody who is maybe a micromanager and you're thinking to yourself, oh my God, they're so demanding and they want all this information and they're just micromanaging me. You can get yourself into a story of frustration and stress. Reframe it. That person just wants more information than maybe I'm used to giving. Maybe they want more updates than I'm used to presenting. Let's come up with a plan on how I can give updates that are going to be beneficial. The minute we can start to reframe things and start to see things differently, our stress starts to lower. I always like to joke with the weather forecast, 50% chance of rain and 50% chance of snow. Which one do you want to look at? How many of you are like, neither? I want sun. I can either look at 50% chance of sun and 50% chance of rain and say, oh my God, it's going to rain. How come it always rains? Or I can say, oh, 50% chance of sun. Reframe it. But also, one of the big things in minimizing stress is trying to clarify some purpose and meaning in what you're doing. It doesn't mean, what am I on this earth to do? You can get very philosophical and ask yourself those big questions. But just today, what's my purpose for the day? What are 2 or 3 things I want to try to accomplish today? Not 52 things that many people put on their lists of to-dos. Look at, what's 1 or 2 big things that I want to focus on today for this day, or maybe this week. Again, being able to clarify purpose. My purpose is to help people learn new things. What's one thing I can teach people today? And why do I want that? What is your purpose? What is your meaning? The minute you can clarify your purpose, you start to deepen your relationships and your connectivity with others. And you can practice positivity that way. But one of the things I focus on with stress management is not getting into what we call toxic positivity, where you're just like, oh, okay, everything's going to be great. Everything's fine. Fine stands for feelings inside not expressed. Sometimes we have to feel the feels and say, you know what, I am frustrated. What can I do to move through this? And I have hope that I'll be able to get through this. You've been in these situations before. You were able to move through them. What did you do? How could you, again, engage that? When you're able to do those things, you get into more of a moderation of stress and you're asking yourself, is this helping or is this hurting my goal? And when you can moderate stress, it's amazing how emotionally intelligent you are and you're able to manage your emotions. Because generally we snap or yell at others when we're feeling overwhelmed, we're feeling frustrated. And the more we can ask ourselves, what do I have as resiliency factors, the more I can manage my stress. We all have so many things going on, but are we able to take one thing at a time? And are you able to schedule time for yourself to reframe things? I first started out as a school counselor, and I was like, you know what? I need to save everybody. I want everybody to love school, and I want them all to be happy. And, I want everybody to be just their best. Wow, that got stressful really fast because there was a lot of things that I couldn't control. And one of the things that I always asked was, what do I want to do today? And is what I'm doing today, is this going to matter in a month or a year from now? And I had a colleague who was right next to me. We shared rooms. Well, we had a shared doorway, and rooms were right next to each other. And he'd be just like Cosmo Kramer. And he could tell when I was getting elevated, and he'd slide through that door and he'd be like, Schaefer, is it going to matter in 2010? If it's not, let it go. Again, looking at some of those things, because we can get ourselves so wrapped up and busy, and it gets very overwhelming. So does it really matter in the grand scheme of things? Is this going to matter? And the more I can look at the big picture, is this really worth the sleepless night or the pounding heart? Again, trying to reframe. Is this going to matter a month or a year from now? When I ask myself these questions, I have to also look at my story. What's the story I'm telling myself? What are my own thoughts? Do I automatically get into a negative story of I'm never going to be able to do this? It's never good enough. I never can make people happy. I have to do this. I must do this. I should do this. How many of you have ever found yourself shoulding on yourself? I have to and should. Test your own thoughts. Again, how do I know this to be true? What is my perception? Is my perception truly accurate? How many of you have ever said something like, well, I don't think my boss likes me? Well, how do you know that to be true? What is that story? If you're getting into a story of being stuck and not good enough, you've got to look at your strengths, because I'll tell you, stress becomes overwhelming if you're feeling like you're not doing things good enough. And sometimes I like to say done is better than perfect. So again, asking yourself, what is my internal dialogue and what's my internal story? And ask, if I'm here, why am I here? And if I'm being great, what am I doing? Sometimes we want to really look at, what is it that I'm passionate about? I ask people, what do you love about your job? At the end of the day, write down 3 things that you are happy about. If you write down 3 things that you're happy about that went well at your job, you're now reframing, and you're looking more at, hey, if I was being great today, what was I doing? Our brains are wired for negativity. So we've got to reframe them and start looking for the positive. How many of you do have 80% of your job that you love? Do you focus on that? Or are you focusing on the 20% that you're not loving so much? Looking at truly your mindset. Stress and burnout come when we're not seeing the success, because people always want to know, how am I doing? What am I doing? If you want a great book to read, I would encourage you to look at Reality-Based Leadership, No Ego by Cy Wakeman. She talks a lot about this idea of really looking at our stories. And if we are being great, what are we doing? And if we're being great and honoring others, what are they doing? Because oftentimes people say stress comes from others. If they would just do things like I would do, it would be so much easier. Well, that's seen sometimes as a threat. Sometimes we've got to reframe the threat. Everybody's here to teach us something. And I just lost my lights. Everybody's here to teach us something. There are 2 ways to look at a stressful event. Looking at negativity, trying to understand where are we, and potentially realizing that when we're demanding occasions as a threat, we get even more stressed. How many of you are worried about, oh my God, this has to be perfect. If this isn't perfect, I'm not going to be seen as a good team player. My boss is going to think less of me. My colleagues are, and you start catastrophizing. Catastrophizing is a source of anxiety very, very quickly. And realizing that it becomes super important for us not to catastrophize and make it as a learning opportunity. Hey, I'm learning right now. What are some things that we can do? I'm learning right now that, again, there's going to be things that maybe don't always go the way we want them to go. Are you ever focusing sometimes on realizing that, hey, it's not going the way I want it to go, but here's what I learned from it. Every single person in this world is here to teach us something. And how do we, again, focus on that area? When we're able to focus, again, becomes key. Thanks, Sean, for the question. The question is Reality-Based Leadership is the book by Cy Wakeman. And it's also, she has one called No Ego, which is another great book. So thanks for that question, Sean. Again, great resources to kind of help you look at, how do I focus on what great is? And again, realizing that things, again, may not work as well as you hope, but creating what we consider a growth mindset. This growth mindset is trying to say, you know what, I'm not necessarily good at it right now, but I'm working on it. I'm going to try to do something new. And what stresses many of us out is new things, because it's going to take a little more time. And we worry about failing and getting outside of our comfort zone. But when we get forced with change, we have to ask ourselves, what can I learn from this? What can I do in this to make this a little bit different? And really, truly move past this idea of what if I fail? You know, I love asking the question, if you could do anything, what would you do? And people always go, well, I don't know. I'd maybe love to try this. But, and they start telling me all the reasons why they don't want to do it. And it all has to do with the fear of failure. And oftentimes people say, you know, my best learning happened when I made a mistake. Realizing that failure is just learning opportunities, and it's giving us a growth mindset. Try thinking about, okay, we've tried this. Now what could we do a little bit different? Any entrepreneur or business person I've ever talked to that owns their own business said, you know what, we started and we failed, and we started and we failed. We tried this, we adapted this. They truly had a mindset that, you know what, this is stressful, but I'm learning something and I'm gaining a growth mindset. And again, the more you can do that, the more you can start to minimize some of your stress and burnout. What am I learning from it? Being able to set some boundaries, you know, being able to ask yourself, hey, do I have the boundaries that are necessary? Do I have a good problem-solving mindset? What are the possibilities to effectively deal with stress? So many times people don't have good enough boundaries with each other, and they focus on truly, you know, saying yes to everything. And I'm like, maybe you've got to set some boundaries, because if you say yes to things, you're saying no to other things. And when you're asking yourself, is what I'm saying yes to more important than what I'm saying no to, then that helps sometimes minimize your stress. But set some boundaries. You know, this was a sign that many people were using from working from home, and I had to chuckle when I saw it. You know, the only acceptable reason to interrupt somebody today is this, this, and this. That's a clear set of boundaries. You know, how many of you put on your calendar a half an hour for you time? You know, just to be able to say, I need at least 30 minutes to be able to work for myself or do something for myself. You know, nowadays, so many people are eating at their desks and trying to take on just one more thing. And we're constantly connected 24/7, realizing that, again, I've got to take some me time and set some boundaries. And a lot of times people are like, well, Lisa, I just don't have time for me time. Well, you want to make time for yourself so that you can be better for others. You know, people don't like stressed out, burnt out individuals. They want to, again, have opportunities for encouragement. And when you're trying to really, truly ask yourself, is this truly stressing me out? Well, ask yourself, what do I have control over? Try not to be a victim of your circumstances. You know, a lot of times people feel as though, well, I don't have control over anything. Everything's happening to me. They're doing this to me. Your perception is ultimately the thing that impacts your behaviors, your perception of the activity or the event. So focus on things that you can influence. Focus on things that you know you can have some solution opportunities. You know, because again, we want to be able to move through and respond, not react. That gives us good emotional intelligence. And I love this as a stress management technique. A lot of times if I'm coaching individuals, people are saying to themselves, you know, well, I got to get all these things done. And, you know, I have so many things to do. I've got the kids and the house and the work, and they're just overwhelming themselves. And then I say, well, let's do the rocking chair test. You're 90 years old. What would you give advice to yourself? You know, oftentimes, if you've ever had an opportunity to go talk to individuals in nursing homes or some of your elderly family members, you know, so many times they'll say, I wish I would have spent more time doing this and less time worrying. You know, Oftentimes we talk about this idea of this worry and this anxiety. Anxiety is worrying about the future. Try to stay present. What do you have control of right now? And again, what are your ultimate goals? What are your 3 big rocks or your values you want to live by? And is what you're doing right now helping or hurting that? And oftentimes people will say, well, a big stress management technique is being able to understand what are my big rocks and what are my priorities and what do I consider something that I need to do, or maybe something I need to delegate. How so many times people are trying to do everything themselves. I'm like, delegate. Do you have somebody to delegate to? And they're like, well, I can't. Think of 1 or 2 small things that maybe you can delegate. I always tease my friends and family, delegate chores to your kids, do the dishwasher. And then they'll say, well, they don't do the dishwasher right. Well, okay, done is better than perfect. You can always run the dishwasher twice, but teach people, delegate to them and give them a chance to be able to learn, and that you can get that off your plate. But so many times people are like, no, I got to do it all because I need it done my way. Coach them on that. And realize that, again, where your focus goes, that's where your energy is going as well. And that's where your time is going. We don't manage time, we manage choices. So try to prioritize. This basically has been one of the biggest habits that have helped minimize stress and minimize burnout. Again, what are the 3 big rocks? What can I do right now? What can I delegate? What do I need to actually drop and stop doing? Create a stop doing list. And what do I need to plan for? But again, prioritize what your key goals are for the day. How many of you wake up in the morning and you automatically just jump on your phone and jump on the emails? I would encourage you not to do that. I would encourage you to start by prioritizing what are 1 or 2 things you want to accomplish today, and get intentional with your time, intentional and focus on where you want to go for the day or even for the week. And again, being able to create the task awareness. What are those big rocks? What are those 5 moves that you need to make to accomplish them? Do this with your teammates. What do we consider urgent and important? Maybe what's not as urgent. And how do we move through the day based on some of these types of things? The more we can focus on delegating as well, do the 3R exercise. What's required of me? What gives me my greatest return? What is the most rewarding? And then evaluate. What do I need to eliminate? What can be done by somebody else that I'm doing? Again, 80% done by somebody else is sometimes better than 100% done by me if I don't have time and I'm overwhelmed with stress. Burnout comes because people feel overwhelmed and underappreciated. So again, being able to delegate those tasks. Give yourself some grace too. It's amazing to me how many people have such unrealistic expectations of themselves. It's like, wow, okay. Do you expect that of other people? Well, most times we are our own worst critics, and be able to get clear on what you think success means for you. What is success for you or your team? And what are some things that, we can focus on? The other big thing, I'm a big Tony Robbins fan. He talks about this hour of power. I said a half an hour. He tells you need an hour for yourself. Make sure you don't cancel on yourself. And it's about reflecting on what's working. Some people are talking about digital detoxes, doing digital detox Sunday. I'm trying to do cell phone free Sunday. Again, getting more focused because we are so connected these days, just giving yourself one day. And being able to, again, check on how much time you're spending being involved in your computers and your technology. If it takes more than 3 emails, my friends, pick up the phone. One of the biggest sources of stress and burnout right now, people are telling me, is they get 300-400 emails a day. And some of those email chains are like 10 emails long. And I'm like, why didn't you just pick up the phone? If it's going to take more than 3 emails, give them a call, check in. And then, of course, all the other stress relievers. You make sure you're eating well, make sure you keep moving. One of the biggest things is getting endorphins in your brain. Get outside if you can. Perfect time to get some sunshine, some vitamin D. There's apps out there called meditation or, again, Calm. A lot of companies are giving basic subscriptions to individuals for that. There's another one, Headspace. Starbucks is doing that for all of their employees. Realizing that, again, get out there and have some fun. have some fun, show and tell, change your virtual backgrounds if you're doing a lot of virtual, get some facts, do some games, just have some more fun. I think that's one of the biggest things in minimizing burnout is kind of find some fun in the little things. And again, you're never going to change other people. You can just change how you respond. And the more I say, what do I need to do to either respond or again, react, that's going to dictate how I engage. If you want some great resources, I'd encourage you to check out NAMI.org. Excellent workplace mental health promotion. So I would encourage you to check out NAMI.org. There's another one that's great. It's mantherapy.org. This is, of course, targeted towards men because a lot of times, some of my male friends will say, well, we don't, want to talk about people or talk about stress. We don't do that. We just, do other things. It's a great tool to kind of, again, hit that target market. And even mental health first aid, again, looking at kind of these processes and things that you can say and what you can't say. So these are all great resources that I would encourage you to check out as well. And again, as always, remember to find time to appreciate yourself. What am I doing well? What am I most proud of? And what am I most thankful for? And then appreciate the people around you. Because the number one way to minimize some burnout is to help people feel appreciated. So I appreciate you all taking time to be here on this little snippet of a dialogue, but hopefully look forward to seeing you join us in the future. So thanks so much, my friends.
All right. Thanks so much, Lisa. So many great little things to take away. Personally, I love the rocking chair test. I love rocking chairs, so that just is great. So I'll just sit in there and reminisce. And I also love the intentionality of coming into work and getting tasks done. So those are two takeaways that I'm taking. Hopefully all of you can take away some great things from Lisa today. We are going to leave some time for questions and answers, so Q&A. So if you have any, you can put them in the chat and I'll read those to Lisa. And if not, we will let you go on your way. So just give it a second here, Lisa, and see where this goes. And also, Sean, you asked the book, and I know Lisa reiterated what that was, but when I send the recap email out for everybody, I'll make sure to put that in there for you guys. I wrote it down. All right, Lisa, I'm not getting anything in the chat, so we'll go ahead and close today. I thank you again, everybody, for attending. I really do hope that you were able to get some tools to use in your everyday life and work life. Another big thank you to Lisa for sharing your expertise today. We appreciate you so much.
Thanks so much, Corey.
All right, thanks, everybody. Bye.